following reports and the emergence of unofficial footage confirming the deployment of Su-57 fifth-generation fighters by the Russian military to Syria. The Russian Defense Ministry has 9 months later elaborated further on the nature of the fighters' mission. 4 Su-57 twin-engine stealth jets were reportedly deployed to the Middle Eastern country, operating alongside a larger air contingent comprised of some of the country's most advanced combat jets, including the 4th-generation Su-35 air superiority fighters and Su-34 strike fighters, which both entered service from 2014. The Su-57, while not officially yet in service as a fully operational fighter in the Russian military, has demonstrated its readiness for low-intensity combat. Whether it is as of yet ready for high-end air superiority roles or penetration of heavily defended enemy airspace, missions for which it was intended which the Syrian conflict could not simulate, remains to be seen. The Su-57's deployment to Syria served a number of purposes, including a response to the deployment of its American counterpart, the F-22 Raptor, and a perceived need by the Russian armed forces to demonstrate a combat capability for a next-generation air superiority fighter in the aftermath of the American F-22 and Chinese J-20's entry into service. With Russia's armed forces having benefited considerably from combat experience in the Syrian theater, an example being the Air Force's Su-35 air superiority fighters, which have undergone a number of modifications based on lessons learned from combat operations. It is likely that deployment of the Su-57 to Syria could lead to a smoother entry into active service in the Russian armed forces. The Russian Defense Ministry released footage of 2 Su-57 fighters flying in formation over Syria, landing and taking off from Bamim Air Base in western Latakia province. The length of the deployment remains unknown, but some Western sources speculate that it could have been as short as 2 days. In that time, the fighters reportedly carried out over 10 sorties against Islamist militant targets. This represented the very first combat mission of the Russian fighters, and of any fifth-generation fighter manufactured outside the United States. All of the Type 26 frigates will be built on the Clyde, supported by suppliers across the country and securing decades of work for more than 4,000 people. The first 3 ships have already been ordered for £3.7 billion. Combat operations more than anything providing an opportunity to evaluate the Su-57's basic flight performance and its flight control, communications, and other mission systems, as well as its suitability to operate in an extremely hot or desert climate, a particularly critical requirement for the Indian Air Force.